going to be Hill, they're going to be Hopkins, and they cross the line. It's Hill by 6 thousandths of a second.
The Outside Line Podcast, reuniting your hosts, the legendary commentary duo of Jack Burnicle and James Whitham.
But he's not on the right side of him unless he can do it. Oh, no! Round the outside! Oh, what a move!
My goodness me. Welcome to the Outside Line. I'm here at Huddersfield International Airport with my dear colleague of long-standing, James Whitham.
Nice to see
How
you
are
again,
you, dear
Yeah,
boy?
good. And you're looking well. Really
So
good.
you are too. It's very nice to be here in what is obviously a tailor-made studio. Actually, you know, it's the ideal place.
To be fair, the boys have created this over the last sort of half a day. This is generally my kind of storage room, really. Old bikes, tyres for the track days, and
Dusty trophies in the corner.
Yeah.
You don't want clean trophies.
You know what the word is for a gentleman who puts shiny trophies in his house, don't you?
No.
I'll tell you later. Yes, well, there's a few trophies about there. Yeah.
We've seen a bit of stuff going on so far this year.
Yep.
One thing that I would like to mention is the Endurance World Championship kicked off at Le Mans.
Yep.
And there was some epic racing, some epic crashes as well, because
Yeah.
the conditions were horrible pretty much throughout, or very changeable, which made it tricky.
Worst conditions for endurance is changeable conditions.
Yes.
I've raced at Le Mans a couple of times in 24-hour races, and it's a long time ago. The track might have been resurfaced, whatever, but it is difficult to read. And can you imagine it's on the edge of dark, you're starting to get used to the floodlights, there's a lot going on, and then it rains. It's difficult to tell where the wet track is, how much grip you've got. Horrendously difficult for the riders. It's part of the skill set that you need to be good at world endurance.
And it was quite an intro for Jason O'Halloran. How
Yeah,
wonderful
brilliant.
to see him join in the Yamaha team. None of those three guys, because obviously his teammates as well,
Yep.
Haneker and Fritz,
Yep.
the birthday boy, they'd never won Le Mans before. So all three of them were absolute first timers. And they were a bit lucky because it was really ironic that Roman Ramos, who we fondly remember from World Superbike days, on that rather outpaced Kawasaki. He used to Go 11 Kawasaki.
It was
team
difficult
he
to tell how
with.
quick he was because you didn't know what to put down to the.
But I'll tell you when he was quick on the Saturday
Yeah.
evening when he was chasing down
yeah,
Jason, and that was an epic confrontation. That was. They were both riding brilliantly.
When it's conditions like that, I remember a Le Mans, no, actually a Bordeaux that rained really hard when I was riding Factory Yamaha with Christian Saran as team manager, actually. And when we dropped behind it for a couple of reasons, and when it's wet, if you've got somebody who's reasonable in the wet, you can take some risks and gain 2 and 3 seconds a lap back sometimes.
Which is what Ramos was
Correct.
doing.
You're never doing that in the dry. Not against somebody
No.
like Halloran and the rest of them.
Yeah.
But you can in the wet. And he did such a good job of that. And then
And
dropped
it
with
in
him.
the last hour.
Yeah.
So Yamaha, congratulations to Jason. I mean,
Absolutely.
what
Really
a
pleased to see
debut.
that.
But also a shame for
Dan
the
Linfoot.
reigning world champion, Dan Linfoot,
Yep.
because he broke his arm quite badly, didn't he, in testing, and that meant that he wasn't able to.
Yeah, I don't know if
race.
you've seen it. If you get chance, he had a helmet cam on. He's at Valencia. He's testing all the material they're going to need for world endurance, and he's out there on reasonably hard endurance spec rear Bridgestone tyre, and it let go third lap, which is kind of right on the cusp of when it had come in and be all right. He's gone from left to right in the middle of the track. Hideous bit of track, actually. I don't like Valencia generally anyway. He's gone left, right, and as soon as he's gone right, you shut off, and he's just come round and completely pinged him off. And unlucky enough to no damage anywhere except he's done humerus and dislocated shoulder, and it's a dislocation. That is the issue. I believe. Did you see him down? He was at Le Mans, but
He was at Le Mans for
that.
that. He was advising people across the whole.
Great endurance rider, Dan.
Yeah.
Really pleased for him. That we always knew he had talent at BSB in every class he's ever done. Where we first saw him in European Stock 6 Junior, and mixing it with people like Loris Bars and others that went on to World Superbike fame.
And briefly in World Supersport.
Oh, yeah.
Or he had a good ride at Magny-Cours, and we thought he was set for the following
Brilliant.
year.
Everybody's always known his talent. Massive mid-corner speed, really good feel for the bike. Tends to like it how he likes it if it's not just right. But really pleased to see him win his World Championship. I went to he had a little party at a place up near his place up near. It's East Yorkshire,
okay, yeah,
and it was just lovely, really family orientated, and everybody's dead. I don't think there was anybody in the British Championship paddock who didn't enjoy seeing him win his World Championship last year.
And was his hair regrowth looking quite well?
Yeah, good. He's had the transplant. It's like Shakey's transplant. It's worked really well. I mean, I don't know where they get. I don't know the sort of theory. I'm going to have to find out because mine's falling out in a big way.
No, there's no evidence of that whatsoever.
I've got a right.
This is falling out.
I've got a right egg in the nest. If you look from a certain, it took us hours to get these lights in the right spot, Jack.
I tell you what, it's a lot better than the 9-time world motocross champion Tony Cairoli. His is a disaster.
Right, okay. Things I never thought we were going to get into on the podcast.
Talking of motocross, last year's world champion has absconded, as many Europeans do now, to America because you can get, A, you can earn some money.
Yeah.
B, you can ride on beautifully prepared tracks. And C, the disadvantage is you can spanner yourself riding Supercross. And every European who ever goes over there, no matter what record he's got in Europe, even going back to Jean-Michel Bale.
Who was the first man to really go and crack it, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he the first year he went over in 1990, racing neck and neck for the 125 outdoor nationals, he broke his arm.
Yeah.
But almost all of them have injured themselves when they first got over there. But they're earning good money. They can get, if they're lucky, they can get even as privateers.
Yeah.
And that just does not happen in Europe, not at all.
What about Triumph and Ducati now involved?
Whoever thought that Triumph and Ducati would turn their attention to motocross Grand Prix?
And go well.
And go well.
Yeah.
I mean, originally Triumph had Ricky Carmichael and in America.
Yeah.
And
is that that's quite a long time ago, that wasn't it? The first.
I know.
So this is the initial,
we thought it was a joke.
I guess you need, if you've got the engineering skills and you know what kind of power, all you've got to do is buy a top motocrosser, put it on a dyno. You're not going to know what engine characteristics you're going to need, and weight, etc. But in terms of weight distribution in the chassis, angles, lever arms, linkages, I guess you need somebody who's a top liner for that, do you?
Yeah, it would be helpful.
Yeah.
And in the UK, it was Paul Edmondson. And Little Ed, of course.
Good old Eddie.
Has become, as a 1990s, back in the 1990s, world enduro champion. But has attained far more fame as the stand-in for James Bond, the stunt stand-in for Daniel Craig. And in fact, the last few James Bond movies, including scaring the living daylights out of himself, jumping some kind of wall or something in the last film.
Well,
and he says that was the most frightening thing he'd ever done.
Claim to fame.
He's also the ugliest stand-in for he's not a pretty picture, ain't he?
He'll be pleased to hear that.
Yeah,
yeah.
But he's not as good looking as Mr. Craig.
My claim to fame with him is he used to come around selling tyres to motocross shops, places up north like Lee Brothers and TBs and Terry Sylvester's.
Oh, okay.
When motocross was really, really popular, virtually everybody did AMCA. I know.
So he must have been doing that on behalf of his late dad, then.
Yeah,
Pete Eddy.
Yeah, and he probably before they fell out, 'cause they had a little fallout at the end, I think.
Oh, mate, that family's fallen out in all directions over the years. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm at TB's buying some parts for a Suzuki we were messing about motocrossing back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
And there's a guy in there, another customer, never met him before, and he's struggling to fit this tire. So you've sold me this flipping Trelleborg, whatever it was, motocross tire.
Trelleborgs were the one.
He couldn't fit it. He's got like he's coming with a pair of spoons the wrong way around. And he's trying to, and so then the TB man, I think it was Teddy Beecroft's, the shop owner's lad. He had a couple of lads, mind out of the way, and we're in the front of the shop, right? There's only a little shop, grubbing around on the floor. We're just watching this. We want to go out and buy some flipping oil or whatever. And so TV's lads are spinning, there's flipping levers going everywhere. And then somebody else had come in and said, "What? I'm out of the way, I'll do it. And nobody could do it. Paul Edmondson arrived to sell some tyres weirdly. Comes in, what's going on? We think it's wrong size. It won't go on. It's too stiff on the... Move out of the way. First thing he did, took it all off again. Didn't try and join in with somebody else's. Mate, it went on done in about less than 3 minutes. Done. He jumped up and down it. He had it. He got it. And just all technique.
The skill of a former competitor in the international 6-day trial.
He said, you know what? If you can't change a wheel, a tyre, a puncture, a tube in 3 or 4 minutes, you're done, in my
Yes.
And sold his tyres, cleared off. Never smiled.
No.
We were like...
No, the Edmondson family rarely did.
Yeah.
With
Clever, though.
Yeah.
Clever lad.
Just briefly remembering the late Pete, who passed away last year. Mind you, at the age of 90, he'd celebrated his 90th birthday, gone by then as well. But Triumph recently with Camden McClellan, a tall South African lad, won their first MX2 motocross Grand Prix race win. He did rather spanner himself in the second race, but he won the first one, which was
seen Johnny Walker
impressive.
on doing some of these indoor.
Oh, and Johnny Walker's riding for them on the indoor enduro stuff.
Fantastic, and what a nice bloke.
Yes,
yeah,
and also Ducati. Apparently, their Desmo engine is lethally fast, but the bike possibly ain't handling too well just as yet.
Well, it used to be the Ducati way, didn't it?
Sorry. Oh, did it?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Loads of torque, loads of power, but odd, different.
Oh, okay. Well, it's certainly a young. Their good results came via a young Italian called Mattia Guadagnini, who got a couple of 4th place finishes overall in the early motocross Grand Prix because they kicked off beginning of March.
Yeah,
and then he really hurt himself. He's put himself out pretty much for the year.
They all hurt themselves.
Because the tracks, a lot of the tracks are dangerous. That's why they're deep ruts and nasty. They're not manicured and looked after really. And they also have a lot of jumps on them that can catch people out eventually.
Yeah.
But the last motocross Grand Prix was in Switzerland, and a Swiss rider who's a 4-time runner-up in the World Championship across his years, Jeremy Seawer, who has looked very ordinary on the Ducati this year, having been signed up by Ducati this year. He suddenly got himself a rostrum finish in Switzerland on home soil. Obviously enjoyed it, even though the track was sketchy, and he got a 3rd. So that's the first rostrum finish for Ducati in Grand Prix, and they won the Italian Elite Championship last year. So, they're doing all right. It's mad, isn't it? Really, completely ridiculous. And the leader in the World Championship
by Ducati.
by Ducati on its way, and Triumph. Triumph is supposed to have a 450 that's going to come out next year.
Yeah.
And Ducati are aimed at the 450 straight away. So we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, the man who everyone thought would become world champion this year for HRC Honda, he wrecked himself.
I was going to say himself, yeah.
Tim Geiser hurt himself in Switzerland, and he's hoping to be back for Portugal, which is a half-decent track at Agueda the next round. It is one of the more traditional tracks. Although what the organisers tend to do is stick a load of jumps on to the more traditional tracks and ensure that they're kind of not quite what they used to be.
I think that's why back in my day, virtually everybody who did any kind of motorcycle sport, most road racers do a little bit of AMCA motocross.
Yes,
it was accessible because there weren't a lot of the AMCA tracks around here were just basically a farmer's field. When he's taking the crop off it midsummer, he just opened it. He give it the local
crop off.
He give it, and before he ploughed it, there was no detriment to having a load of motorbikes going around, and they'd just lay a track out, and they were typically really quick as long as you could turn.
Yes,
and ride a rut.
Yeah.
So they were accessible to people, idiots like me.
It was really interesting what you were saying just before we started this. This never really struck me before, that when you're in midair, you're decelerating.
Yeah.
It kind of backs up what the historic likes of Jeff Smith and Graham Noyce used to say about wasting your time in midair, spending too much time airborne.
What did Graham Noyce say?
He said, all you can do when you're up there is fiddle with your cock. What's the point in jumping?
You all love Noisy. But it's actually the same in road racing. The biggest place you go in the air or get in the air in British Championship always was
Cadwell Park.
Cadwell Park Mountain. And people have different theories. And I remember I always hit it straight enough, as hard as I could, not compared to Brooks and, Carl Harris and a couple of the others. But actually, I've got pictures of me doing a reasonable jump for somebody who wasn't a good motocrosser. Rob Mack never did. He always, instead of straighten up, he drove around the outside with a little bit of a wheelie, a lot wider, and kept the speed going. I typically was going, because I took off quicker, thereby getting a bigger jump.
But
and he stayed accelerating as he went over, as I was slowing down. So if you're in the air, you are definitely slowing down.
Yeah.
So
even when you're not fiddling with your knob, as the other.
I think you slow down about the same pace, whether you were or weren't. I would have said. I'm not a physicist.
Listen, I think it's probably about time that we moved on to our first segment.
What's next?
In which is the Full Throttle Fables are coming up, mate.
Oh, we will.
We've got a bit of storytelling to do, apparently. So, folks, it's time for the Full Throttle Fable.
Full Throttle Fables.
You have arrived at your final destination.
Powered by Net Performance.
Well, this appears to be where we tell a little story about our days on World Superbikes. And they go back a long way, because we always used to invite Whit to come up and join. This is when me and Neil Mackenzie were working together on World Superbikes, like 2000 and 2001. And a very enjoyable couple of years they were. And but Whit would occasionally come up and join us. We used to insist on having a third microphone in wherever we were, because remember, this was a time when we used to get set up in all sorts of bizarre places in commentary positions. I mean, some really unlikely spots.
Yeah.
And if James, we got used to the fact that if James had his World Supersport race, remember in those days, took place between the two World Superbike races. Yeah. If he'd had a good result in his World Supersport race, he'd be gagging to leap upstairs and join us in the commentary position and enjoy the second Superbike race with us. If he'd had a naff day, the chances are, if his race hadn't gone well, he wouldn't show. So we got used to
this. But that's only because I was too busy kicking stuff around the garage and not been angry with my team, because generally, if I had a bad day in World Supersport, it was because I had a bad day, not the team. Team were brilliant. The Belgian team were brilliant. But the one that springs to my mind is it's the last round of the championship. It's Imola. It's 02. You and Neil have done the first race. Then you've commentated on my race, which I think had a reasonable...
You must have done, because you showed up.
I think Rostrum. I think some podium somewhere. I think third.
I think I knew beforehand that the old Trout was going to have to leave early to catch up. Why on earth he was going off to get an aeroplane before?
What turned out to be the most pivotal race in World Superbike
Superbike history. Yes.
So basically, having a reasonable day, I went.
Fortunately, turn up.
Yeah.
So that at least I've got a co-commentator.
But I didn't know any of this. I didn't know Neil had booked a flight. I mean,
he just stood
I'll tell you
up.
what it is with Neil. What's happened there is Eurosport have asked him to organise his own flights. He's found one £15 cheaper than the appropriate one where he could have finished his work. Right? I thought, you know what, I'm having that. That's what he's done. I think, yeah, that'll work. So he's got his hire car pointing at the autostrada, just with the engine warm. You know, he's just one of them. But I didn't know any of this. So I've gone up there and I'm sat in with you. And what was unfolding on track, it was all set up in the first race. The championship, bear in mind this is last round, last race of what had been an exciting championship in a way. It's Troy Bayliss, factory Ducati, against Colin Edwards, factory SP2 Honda. It is going to come down to these two. They're vying for a championship. They're both chucking everything in, including the kitchen sinks. Zaus, for his part, I've never been a massive Zaus fan, to be honest, but he was trying his best to do. But he was.
But if you remember, Bayliss actually. He actually slowed things up. He actually brought Zaus closer.
Bayliss had the pace over Edwards, and knew that, certainly initially when he had a tyre.
Yeah.
So then Zoust couldn't keep up with the pace that's been pushed by the other two, Edwards and Bayliss. Bayliss got onto this, and then
Closed it
mid-corner,
back.
he's kind of holding Edwards up, but then he didn't want him past him.
Yeah.
So he's playing, he couldn't have played it any better, couldn't Bayliss, knowing that he couldn't just finish second. Edwards could just afford to finish second and still win the championship. And it just was the most, not only exciting race on track in terms of what they were doing on the bikes, it was actually exciting figuring out the plan, because Bayliss is sticking to this plan because it's his only plan. It's only plan A. He ain't got a plan B.
Yeah.
Other than Edwards falling down.
But obviously the old Trout had a plan B because it plan A rather and no plan
so
B because
halfway
he
through
got
the most exciting race in
he
the world,
stood up and
didn't
took
say
the
a
cans
thing.
off.
He took his cans off, stuck them on the back of the chair. He went and cleared off, and I'm like, what the? I didn't,
And you were now my co-commentator.
yeah, and Jack's going,
And it,
that was it. That was it. And that's how we
that
got
last
going.
lap. Do you remember Bailey?
Unbelievable.
Edwards threw the Tozer hairpin. It was absolutely ridiculous. And then Bayliss had a big moment on that fast climb away from the hairpin.
Yeah.
As he went over the top of the hill.
Yeah,
And that's what finished him really. That
It
made it really difficult.
I just remember sitting there with the hairs on my flipping neck and my arms standing up, thinking, "Whoa!" You'd just seen something here. You couldn't imagine anybody putting more into it, certainly than Bayliss did in trying to work it out. And it was a really flipping shot to note. Really, a man will put that much effort and risk into something that is a massive long shot.
Yeah,
really is. You got to take
and
that
on that. I'll always remember
And
on the slowing down lap, as he came down in front of that packed grandstand down past the Revatsas and back towards the start and finish there, he just sat back like that.
Couldn't have done any more
in front of those people and just said, "Well, I put everything into that, didn't I?"
Not only that, it couldn't have been a better race in front of always a mega crowd there.
Yeah,
and a really involved crowd at a circuit that is one of the best old school circuits. You couldn't make them like that. You couldn't design that now. They'd laugh at you.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Everything about it. Yeah, it was brilliant.
And the old Trout was already on his way to the airport and getting
You know the best thing about, I loved Imola that much because it's kind of old English feel to it. It's got houses backing onto it like Brands Hatch. Ups and downs and off camber.
Well, it was originally the shape of it was originally public roads. That's
some motocross track.
Excuse me, but it was the birth of Italian motocross in 1948. The first international motocross was held there.
Yeah,
and it eventually became the World Championship Grand Prix a decade later. The very first track used to use the riverbed. Semi-dried up
which
riverbed,
is right next to the start and finish.
And they used to go up and back down through Aqua Minerale Park. I mean, it was fabulous.
I know all this because the first time we ever went as a commentary crew years later, and we've got a bit of time on his hands. The Thursday, Friday. He's bought this book. The hotel we're in has got this book of motorsport at Imola in Italian. That he doesn't.
No, it had English in as well.
It
had English as well.
All right, then that's one thing. So he's in this book, and we're trekking around the woods on what is clearly a dog walking path or a goat track or something.
Excuse me.
This is it. This is it. Look, I can smell it.
What I'd done, I'd photocopied the appropriate pages.
Of course you had.
That had photographs of what it was like now, round the bits of what it was like then. And so we were seeking out the route round. And it was the fella that we took with us who didn't like heights and was scared of going across that kind of crumbly ledge when we tried to kind of traverse. Do you remember?
The crumbly ledge that may or may not have been part of the 1948 motocross track. Yeah, no, I get it. This is Jack Burnicle with his anorak pulled up good and tight with photocopied bits of paper, walking around the road going, this is it. Anyway, the best part for me about Imola was you don't get this many places. Italian crowd, like Italian mechanics and Italian teams, if they're in it, they're in it.
Yeah.
Very passionate people. The crowd, the first day you get there, so first day of practice, or when you're having a walk round before the even meeting starts, like Thursday.
Yes.
There's it's just gardens backing onto most of the track.
With washing hanging out in them and balconies.
And you can see the houses beyond the gardens. And then by the time gets to when you're out on your your out lap on your first practice session, there's hammering noises and bits of flipping scaffolding appearing over the big concrete sectional wall that surrounds the track. And then by the last day of practice, the Saturday, these things are generally every gardener's got a homemade wooden or scaffolding or milk crate grandstand, a little 5 or 8 man grandstand. And by race day, you're out on your warm-up lap. They're there with snacks and typically wine and all the family setup. It's brilliant. And the other weird thing, and they always give you a bit of a nod as you come past. They love it.
Yeah.
These aren't people who buy a house next to a racetrack and want to complain about a racetrack. These are involved. Yeah. And the best part about it, you slide off in front of that massive crowd on the race day at Imola, and I've seen it at Monza as well. You slide off your bike, you're in the gravel trap. There's a protocol with them.
It's applause.
No, it's nothing until they know if you're all right.
Oh, it's right? Applause once you get up.
Correct.
Yes.
The only time I've ever had polite applause for getting up after a crash and cheering and whooping, trying to pull a bent bike out of the gravel and get going again is Monza, Imola.
Yes.
Good people, generally, I think.
World Superbikes now then.
Yep.
What's going on in World Supers? Bulliger is currently
dominating,
leading the way.
Yeah, it has been, yeah.
But despite the fact he's had some mischief along the way, Toprak is still very much in contention, isn't he? He's still a good second.
I think it's back to about 21 points now. Bulliger had impressive man. I mean, such an impressive man. What we're seeing now generally in World Superbike is people, instead of looking towards your national championship, BSB particularly, for your next crop of riders into World Superbike, like it always was.
Yeah.
Or looking at Australian championships, produce some brilliant ones for World Superbike.
Yes,
or AMA in its day, and sometimes Jap Championship in terms of Hager and Kageyama, them sort of people. They don't now. There's that many what you'd call refugees of immense talent in MotoGP, because there's a conveyor belt of talent coming off the feeder classes as they are now. That there's people who can't get a reasonable job or a job they're happy with at MotoGP and Moto2, then they fall back into World. So the people who's looking for riders in the teams in World Superbike and World Supersport especially look towards MotoGP for people who can't get a ride in Moto2 and MotoGP, and they're brilliant. Manzi, Remy Gardner, Bulliger, Agata. There's lots of them that's come through that Moto2, especially Roux.
Yeah.
And Bulliger's one of them, and he's absolutely brilliant. Serious, all business, had a cracking start to this season. We knew he was going to be one of the men to beat. Dominated at Phillip Island. Typically, Phillip Island hasn't over the years been a big sort of litmus test about what's going to happen the rest of the championship. You can get some oddball winners there. He, however, dominated there. Toprak had a middling meeting, I think, dropped the ball. Middle race, 12th in a sprint race. I think he had a second and then a technical. Toprak bounced back in a massive way, and through skill, determination and bravery at Portimao, given the fact that Bulliger's bike was definitely had the edge on the straight still. They've been given a few more revs than last year, and as I said before, BMW's lost their super concessions, as they called, so they're pinned back slightly. And it's the first time I've seen, after Phillip Island, it's the first time I've seen Toprak show anything other than respect, magnanimous in defeat, he always is, and the loveliest of personalities is after Phillip Island, when he was on record saying he's become a Ducati Cup. And I don't want to be any part of it. And that obviously upset after what had happened. But it does seem to me, I'm not making any comment on it, that the Ducati has got the edge, certainly with those two. Would you, in my opinion, if you had to choose who was the best rider in World Superbike at the minute, even given what's happened at the beginning of this season, what would you say? It's Toprak.
Yes, I'd say
for me, he's Toprak. And Bulliger's brilliant, but should he on equal tackle across 3 meetings be 21 points in front of? No, not for me. And that's with 2 DNFs for Bulliger at two technicals.
Yes.
To no
yes,
fault of his own.
That's right. So,
Aston,
so Toprak's been helped up by that, hasn't
yeah.
it?
So we'll
he's
see what
had to-
happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they've got to be really careful at World Superbike to keep it what it has been.
Yes.
You know, you don't want to see Toprak clearing off. Sure you don't. But Toprak's doing it on a bike that nobody else has even managed to.
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Ridiculous. So you can't say it's not Toprak
Yes.
because it is.
Yeah.
It is him. He's that good.
Who'd ever have thought when Kieran Sofoglu first introduced us to him in
Geeky
his
kid.
garages, this wall-eyed, geeky kind of teenager who was in junior superstock?
Do you know why I always think I've thought this about other people. Toprak was the kid when he arrived in the paddock that if you were picking a game of football, if you're picking your teams,
He didn't look like he could see straight.
he
for a
would be
start.
the last man that got picked.
Yeah,
And
he
you'd only
would.
have him in
He
your team
would.
because you didn't have any choice. Do you know what I mean? So, but I mean, Bulger's a lovely fella. All business, really takes it seriously, and that's
Yeah.
why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And no shortage of talent, obviously, but Toprak's just the nicest man. He will remember you. Why would he remember me? I've already seen him 4 or 5 times because, you know, I commentated as he was coming through with you.
Yes.
But he remembers who you are, even if you see him when
Yeah.
you're not working, and he doesn't have to talk to you. He'll come and talk to you. You know,
Yes.
he heard at, I think, Donington one of the years, a kid was upset because a kid wanted an e-slide and lost out on getting an e-slider through some, and he went, found a kid, gave him an e-slider, signed it all, got a picture with him. Who does that? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Lovely bloke. World Super Sport, brilliant. For a lot of reasons. Number one, Manzi on the new R9, which if you didn't know
what's
is
what's it like? What is this new R now?
right. New R9 is it's basically the replacement for the long-standing
R6.
25 years of the R6. That's for me. I know if you're a CBR man or a ZX6 man, you're going to disagree with me, but I don't care. The R6 for me was the bench in all its incarnations.
Yes.
Was the benchmark. If you're going racing in the 600 class, you could do well. You're not going to do much better than an R6. Across the board, it had a good engine. It was reliable. It steered pretty well. It wasn't the best at anything, but it was typical Yamaha.
Yeah.
It was just a rideable, usable benchmark, easy to get parts for, easy to work on, 600. And it never changed for me for that. And actually, Manzi won the last ever race that the factory or if you can call it a super sport factory, R6 ever contested, and he won the first with the new R9. The R9 is a different format. It's a triple. The engine's out the MT09, so it's that triple 3-cylinder 900cc Yamaha. I did worry that the standard engine is a bulletproof 3-cylinder, lovely feel, flat power curve, easy to understand, but it's out of a, you know, I don't know what you call them, naked, sit up and beg, you know, street bike.
Have you ridden one?
I've never
What I
run,
mean,
yeah.
have you ridden the one that Manzi had to
No,
race?
I've never in
Okay.
the super. My fear was going to be that a bike that is a road bike with 115 horsepower, 118 horsepower, it's adequate, perfect for
Yeah.
a road bike, and a track day bike. They're going to struggle to make it produce 145, 148 brake horse, which it was going to have to do to give
Yes.
Manzi any chance against the other bikes
But
in that
they've
class.
succeeded.
What good do?
Okay.
It looks brilliant.
And
It's
and
fantastic.
it seems to be bulletproof. On
It seems to be. I'm touching wood. You know, you never know when you're running to different regs for different
Yeah.
formats and layouts of bikes. Other thing that's really impressed me this year, a couple of things, is Tombo Demos. We all knew we had it in him. We all knew that the PTR team who now run the factory 765s at World Championship are a good team and have been there for a long time and won rounds before.
Yes.
In fact, with Manzi a couple of years ago, the only time they've ever won, other than Tombo Demos this year. So Tom's really impressed me. Great bloke, you know. And he gets a lot of bad press because he goes to racing. He doesn't go to make friends, he goes to do well. And the other thing about Tom Williams, if he says he's going to have a go at something, he said this to me when he was doing British Championships. I'm going to do that. I'm going to break there, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that. And you're thinking, that's going to go badly wrong. And you'll tell him, you go, I think I can get away with it. And a lot of people say stuff and are not prepared to. They're never going to do it or try it, mate. You flipping try it. He's a brave man, brave lad,
Yes.
and a good lad. And he's one of them that people. He's like a bit Marmite-ish. People don't like him, or people absolutely adore him. And once you get to know him, great bloke, really nice bloke. He's helping Lee Johnston a little bit set the Triumph up. First time Lee's been on the modern generation of Triumph, so he's in British Supersport with it, and Tom's been instrumental in helping him and geometry and weight distribution and getting him up to speed with what is quite a different bike in terms of how it works.
Yes.
But I've been really impressed with Tom Williams. I think he sits third. Yeah, so it's Manze, Bob and Schneider, brilliant.
Yeah.
On
Where's
the
that come
MV
from?
bike looks fantastic to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, when real good quality bike that when they want to do something and have the money to do it,
Yes.
it's a good little team. He's looked really good on it. Bike looks sharp. So it's been a great start to the championship, really, for a lot of reasons, like I said. And interestingly, I haven't heard anything official, but it is possible. We know that the superbike class is based on typically 1 litre 4-cylinder road bikes that then you make into a race bike. They don't sell any 1 litre road bikes now for a lot of different reasons. A lot of it's Euro 6 because for the amount they're going to sell, is it worth the manufacturers making a bike that's, compatible with laws in a lot of countries? So a lot of them are just producing their 1 litre, frontline sports bike for track only now. So that is going to be difficult to keep going homologation wise, all etc. So the word is that some kind of super sport individually leveled in terms of performance class is going to take over from Superbike eventually.
Okay.
So which should be brilliant. And when you look, I started in World Superbike on a 750cc 4-cylinder against other 750cc 4-cylinders and some twin cylinders. They're up to 1,000.
Yes.
Which worked.
Yes. Yes.
But a 955 Ducati producing 145 brake horse was exactly top front line as fast as you could get World Superbike.
Yes.
Now,
World Supersport.
World Supersport, that.
Yes.
So I can't see that as a class isn't going to work, given that once you start talking about 240, 250 horsepower, then a lot of these circuits we used to go to become kind of unfit for purpose somehow. Your Monzas, you
Well, for me, we were blessed to be around at that
a mega time.
through that kind of time and
Absolutely.
visiting those kind of tracks.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mick Grant or Giacomo Agostino would say, "Yeah, we had it better than you.
Look
we
at
were
what
racing
we are.
around,
Yeah, yes.
the old flipping Spa." Or
Yeah.
But I do feel that World Superbike is having and forced to be going to places that are just, nothing wrong with them, but they're just not as interesting. Typically reasonably flat, constant camber, designed on some kind of CAD system.
Yes.
And all a little bit, and a lot of them where this track, they've got a chunk of real estate.
They've got to fold them back in one another.
Can you make a
lot.
2.5 mile?
Yes.
Or can I make a 4-kilometre track round in that? Yeah. It can go like this.
Yes.
Instead of these tracks that are like, not just in England, but that we still race at, but some of the continental circuits just brilliantly mad in how they put together, and the cambers and the elevation changes, and they don't make sense anymore, and that's the beauty of them.
Yeah.
For me, I'm younger riders might disagree, but I'm sure if they went to race at Spa, not the old Spa, they'd go, shit, this is
real man's racing, as Jackie Stewart once said of the Isle of Man.
Well, it is, isn't it? But Jackie Stewart said a lot of brilliant things. The best quote ever was the Green Hell, as what he called the old Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Oh,
and you could tell, because when you go, and I've never raced on the old Nordschleife. Obviously, it ended up in the finish for racing motorcycles top line in early 80s.
Yeah.
It's just trees and grass. It's the green. it's the greenest circuit ever.
You had to endure a lap that I drove in the passenger seat,
In
but that's a
our
whole
car.
other story we'll enjoy
For
telling.
a lot of reasons, it was scary. Yeah.
So next weekend,
Yep.
Cremona, talking about, that was a track that was only introduced last year when Toprak was out injured, actually, so he's got no experience of it.
I think
And Petrucci won all three races.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, a couple of things about Cremona. It's halfway between Bologna and Milan. Never raced there, but I tested there quite a few times because with the Belgada team
Yes.
on the 600 Yamaha, we were based basically at Monza. But Monza was difficult. It would have been easy. You could have wheeled the bikes onto the track from
Yes.
the workshop.
Yeah.
But you can't get on that much for testing. And it's not really a brilliant test track. It's a brilliant track, but it's got a lot of odd corners that you to set up
Yes.
for. Cremona has really nice track. Quite hemmed in. When it was announced they were going there a couple of years ago, I thought, blooming heck, that place. I remember it being tight on a 600, and it is. But it went down really well. They got a really big crowd. I think they got 40-odd thousand over the weekend, which is fantastic. I did worry about that with it being where it was, really. But they got a good crowd in. Petrucci won, and he's really popular. Because he's like a flawed genius, so everybody sort of gets on board with that. So he had a really emotional triple win there. Toprak missed it. Johnny Ray missed it as well, did he not? This will be the first.
Okay, because he's due back, isn't he,
Yeah.
this weekend? Yeah.
Don't quote me. Got a feeling Jonathan Ray's not raced there. Toprak definitely didn't race there last year. That's the first time they went. Take a bit of learning. It's a lot involved. It is a little bit of a squeezed in, folded in circuit, like but all right.
Okay.
It came across really well on telly because I think they've done a lot of work, a lot of painting, a lot of since I rode there, since I tested there. But it came across really, really well. Tom Amos, I've chatted with him about it afterwards. And goes, "What do you reckon?" Because I thought he says it's brilliant. He had a good ride there. I think he ended up either third or fourth. He had his first really breakthrough ride on that.
So as you always used to tell me, if a guy's had a good result at a track, he'll like it.
Yeah, always, especially when it's the first time the championship's been there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out. Like I said, I think they get a good crowd.
Moving on.
Yep.
We're going to play another of our games now, apparently called Revs Roulette.
Revs Roulette, powered by Net Performance.
So, Revs Roulette. Now,
Yep.
This is an interesting one. We've got to listen to onboard camera recording
Audio.
of a British Superbike track
Yep.
lap.
Okay.
So we haven't got anything to look at. We've got plenty to listen to.
Yeah.
And by a process of elimination and our ingenious line of thought, we've somehow got to figure out which track it is through listening to the gears, the gear changes, the revs. And
We're going to know when. So are we going to know when the bike was at the start and finish? Because we need to know.
we'll get a hooter when
Right.
the bike goes across the start and finish line, and a hooter when it finishes.
Perfect.
And we even get a double hooter if we actually know the answer.
Right.
So let's go with it. This is
Right. Okay.
this is
all
going to
right.
be tricky.
Go on. Last corner.
Yep.
It's going to be a right-hander. It has to be a
Yeah.
right-handed. All right-handed. Second gear. Then really down.
Yeah. Very.
That's a slow corner. Second. It doesn't change down though. Still
No.
second.
No.
Third. Fourth.
Down the gears again. So
First or second. Slow
long
corner.
long way round.
Up. Back off again. Not down a gear though. Then really slow.
Down again. There's something of a back straight in there, isn't
Yeah.
there?
That's a straight. That's sided tyre stuff. Constant corner.
Yeah.
That's a big corner where he's in for a long time.
Yeah.
Then slow.
Yes.
Oh, slow corner. That's straight.
We'll get the horn. I think we're going to get the horn. Whoa, blimey, still.
I know what it is. I know what it is.
I think I do as well.
Snet.
Snetterton 300.
Yep.
Because of that, all that infield.
He's Snetterton. Yeah, definitely Snetterton.
We'll go with Snetterton. Yes! Which brings us on, very nicely, to British Superbikes.
Yeah.
That was some climax to 2024, wasn't
Unreal.
it? Kyle Ryde and Tommy Bridewell.
Yeah, I think for me, it probably rivaled the 11 with Tommy and Hopper.
Yeah.
I think it just had everything that had. It built up. It had two completely different characters.
Yes.
They'd both gone about their season in a completely different way. It just had everything. And actually going into it, you can't argue with Tommy. He's turned that Honda around, made it really work for him last year when nobody else really has. Although Andy Irwin has his moments, but he's been injured a lot, and he hadn't really done his best on it yet. I think Andy's capable of better.
Yes.
But Tommy made it work and pulled that season out of nowhere. And revelation to me, never thought Tommy had it in him. Didn't have him down for the top three for a lot of reasons. The bike had changed, etc. He'd changed from a Ducati to a completely different bike in the Honda. And actually, going into the last race, when it came to the stick and lift, I think most people, regardless of who they would have liked to win, who their favourite was, would have probably said that mentally, Tommy was probably a little bit stronger. And if it were going to come to a last corner, last ditch, which it did, effort, it'd probably go the way of Tommy. But actually...
we've known Kyle for quite a few years, and we know what just the inner calmness of the lad.
The inner calmness, but also there's been times when in 22, when he was teammates with his good mate, going back years, he started mini biking together, Brad Ray.
Yeah.
He almost felt like he almost felt to me like he was almost in awe of his teammate a little bit. And you wanted him to come out and go, do you know what? I believe in myself. I'm as quick as anybody and quicker than most. And you just questioned whether he would have the sort of, whether that inner calm and safety would just play against him when it really mattered. And in fact, last couple of meetings, I'd been saying to him, this is going to come down to I hope you're going to be prepared to roll your sleeves up if it comes down to it, because it might well. And it did. And it turns out, against what a lot of people thought, he was well able to do it.
Also, he was actually a little, he gave that impression of being slightly overawed by that bit of time in World Super Sport as well.
Yeah, but he was 18.
I know. That's what I mean. You forgot how young he was.
Yeah.
Bless him, he used to come and spend a lot of time in the kind of media room.
Nobody spoke English. In that team, nobody spoke English to him. So he'd go to the media centre, find you or me, just so he could have a cup of tea with somebody.
Which is lovely, but, really, really nice kid.
Nice kid. Yeah. Lovely kid, who I think mid-season, looking back, found something. He was going back to these places that he's so weird. He's an under-promise, over-deliver kind of bloke. He'll say, I've good chance this weekend. When really... if it went his way, he'd win by 5 seconds. We've seen that happening. So he's that kind of bloke anyway, understated. But weirdly, like a lot of riders will never do, if they've got a bogey circuit, we all have them. Yes. And everybody has one.
Yes.
They'll never admit that. Oh, yeah, I've never gone well here, but we've found something now. And now I'm going to go. I don't have any bad circuits. They're all good circuits. Mentally staying positive. And he'd say, I don't like Cadwell. He'd say it. He'd tell you. And I'm going, hey, Kyle. No, I don't like it. I just get as many points as I can. And he went back to them places. Alton Park.
Yeah.
Brilliant meeting. The second Alton, which set him up. And Cadwell. He was the top point scorer leaving Cadwell. And even he was surprised. He said he'd tried to go into it mentally more balanced about the whole thing and getting the bike set up so he could ride well there. And I think so. I think he made a breakthrough with himself at some point during last season. It was a fantastic end to the season. I don't think, for Tommy's part, coming out of the last corner at Brands Hatch, knowing you've got to win a championship, 10 metres behind the guy you've got to be, and opening the throttle that hard that the thing kicks sideways and you don't shut the throttle, which he did, and the thing just slid and slid and slid and then dug.
Yeah.
And that could have very easily ended up in Tommy getting pinged into flipping row 3 of the grandstand.
Rather like one James Whitham in a World Supersport race.
Yeah, slightly different. That was
sheer
uncharacteristic cockiness. But what I'm saying is, Tommy was absolutely prepared to stick it on the line, and she can't take it. And I think if you go at it like that and then you don't win, you can sleep with yourself. You can sleep soundly at night thinking, did what I could.
Yeah.
So I think both of them came out looking pretty well, as did Hopper and Hill.
Yes.
You couldn't question any of them, either of them's metal.
No.
So it's a brilliant championship, really, really good.
And now, coming into 2025, lo and behold, although they're no longer teammates, he's facing Brad Ray again. So Bradley immediately goes quickest round Alton Park on the test day.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go over the. I mean, it's been a pretty fraught pre-season because the OMG was going to be a 3-man team. We're going to be returning Brad Ray, brilliant.
All right,
pick.
yes.
It was going to be Kyle Ryde, reigning champion, brilliant. We want to see what's going to happen between them two. Dynamics definitely changed, in my opinion. And a guy called Joe Talbot, who finished second in Stock Thou, who is absolutely worth a chance. He was over the moon to be given a chance on the winning bike.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's all falling apart. A sponsor pulled out. I won't go into details. A lot of stuff's out there. You can find whatever you want on it. But anyway, they didn't have the money to run the team. Alan Gardner, the team principal, pulled it. Said, I can't afford to run. Certainly not with 3 riders. They've all gone their separate ways. Luckily for Brad Ray, Yamaha are that keen on having him in. They've got and helped to get him into the. They've enticed.
I was going to say, have they kind of reinstated Raceways by persuading them to come back in with their backing?
Yeah.
Right.
And with their bike that Brad Ray needs.
Yes.
So Steve Rogers, who one of the most successful team managers, team principals in British Superbike history, and one of the nicest, most organised people you will ever meet or have to deal with. He's back in. He's only retired 2 years previous. And I rang him when it was announced and I just went, how's retirement? And he goes, and he said he wouldn't have come back with anything else but Yamaha's backing, because he gets on really well with Yamaha. He's a Yamaha main dealer up there in Fleetwood. And he said, I wouldn't have come back if it hadn't been for Yamaha and especially Brad. He says,
yes,
I want to work with him. I know we can do good stuff. What it does mean is it's they're ducking for the line, if you know what I mean, in terms of getting everything ready. They went testing it, done it, no hoarding, no backboards for the garage, no nothing. Just basically a van, a man, and a bike, and a couple of mechanics. Then Kyle Ryde has now eventually stayed with exactly the same team with Alan Gardner. They've got a little bit of money from Nitro Competitions. I think it's one of the online. We'll find out anyway. But basically, somebody's put just enough money to run one man. So Brad's happy. Yeah. Kyle's really happy. The only real fallout to that was obviously last man in, first man out, as poor old Joe Talbot, who's got left with nothing. And I feel sorry for Joe. You can't believe what a nice kid. I mean, all nice kids. I get on well with most of the people in the paddock. Brad, brilliant bloke, funny. Kyle, same. And Joe's very much of that. Really working class. Dad runs a garage. He spends most of his time underneath in cars. Working class. Does a bit of boxing. Quite an hard little fella. Always kind of understated. And his big chances just gone up in smoke, really. I think he's going to end up in Super Sport. I wish him all the best. And I've spoke to him a little bit just to say how sorry I was not to see him in the championship, and said, look, mate, this is racing. In a way, what marks you in time is how you put up with the shit, not how you cope with the success. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's going to regroup, and who knows, he might find his feet in Super Sport. So what it does mean is the dynamic now between Brad and Kyle is kind of better. Do you know what I mean? Yes. It's real. Yeah. So we'll see. So
Kyle's nemesis has returned to the paddock in a sense, hasn't he? So
I think Kyle's a different man.
You think from a couple of years back?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Brad's obviously up for it. One of the things...
Brad's, that Motor X Yamaha team.
Yeah.
That was that always struggled to establish itself, even in the Italian Super Sport Championship. Never mind the Superbike Championship. So they never looked like a team that could
gonna
really
give him the bike
do
he
their
needed.
stuff in World Superbikes.
Yeah, when it were a big step up for him anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it never felt like it was doing him a lot of favours.
Yeah, so you couldn't. Yeah, it was a multitude of things why he didn't really perform the way we know he could have done, given a proper
that was
chance.
a disappointment.
Yeah, which is mainly the disappointment for Brits getting into World Supersport and World Superbike now. You're just not sure whether they've had a good enough crack at it on a good enough bike.
Yeah.
Typically. I guess it's always been a little bit same, hasn't it? What we do know now is we've had Navarra, 2 days at Navarra for most of the teams, not everybody. 2 days at Donington with reasonable weather for the most part, and then a good test at Alton Park 2 days last week. What have we got from it? Navarra, fastest man all told, was Glenn Irwin. Never discount Glenn. Glenn will be in the hunt somewhere.
Yeah.
No matter what happens, he will dig in and he'll be there, when it matters.
Yes.
Really.
Yeah.
Whether he can win a championship, he's always going to be in the hunt. Top three meet, he's going to have, if he's been there somewhere, however you need a little bit of luck, you need a lot of things going for you, so how it's going to pan out for him. But he was quickest at Navarra and reasonable at Donington and reasonable at I think, a good pre-season for Glenn and the team. Remember, he's a one-man team with a Hager or Hager.
His fastest
Hager
lap
PBM.
ever at Donington, wasn't it?
Yeah, fastest lap ever at Donington. You've got to be careful at this time of year, Jack, because if you're prepared just to shove new tyres at it, because obviously in testing, if you take 50 tyres, there's no limit to what you can keep chucking tyres. How that translates to a bike that's raceable after 20 laps round Donington is a different matter.
Yeah.
So you've got to just be a bit careful about how you take a quick lap at this time of year.
Okay.
But I wouldn't discount Glenn at all. Same bike, same team, therefore same data count, same technicians. That's a big thing. So he should hit the ground running. Also, what might play into Glenn's hands is, although I haven't spoke to him about it fully, I had a brief word at Donington. They've got a different tyre. Last year, remember, the BMWs and especially the Ducatis were saying that because of the way their bikes work, long hanging corners, Thruxton basically, and a couple of corners at Snetterton, where big centrifugal push, big speed, it just wasn't happy on the side of the tyre, which is why they really struggled to get any points at all at Thruxton, because you're on the side of the tyre the whole time of the lap. They said the tyre they were forced to use last year, the single rear tyre, didn't work for them. Now they've got a new tyre that's kind of sounds midway between the Zero and the X. So it should work for them a little bit better. So we'll see how that pans out. It didn't work well for a lot of people at Donington. It weirdly worked really well for Glenn. But then it worked better for most people at Alton Park.
Yeah.
Some people are saying it's better after 10 laps than it is at the beginning. Other people are saying it's brilliant for 4 laps. Really depends how your bike works on that tyre. The main men are up there. So Glenn's been up there at Navarra, good at Donington. Also good at Donington was Brad. Didn't go to Navarra, obviously. They were trying to get bikes together because the team folded. Kyle, good at both. Top 4-5. He's in the hunt. He's happy enough. I spoke to him. Tommy Bridewell and Andy Irwin
still on Honda.
On Hondas.
Right.
Great team. What Tommy did a couple of years ago and last year was unreal. I mean, a revelation. Really.
Yes.
Struggling. And I hate to say this because Tommy will buttonhole me as soon as I get to Alton Park.
What, struggling now
seems
in
to be, and seems to be finding, given it's the same bike ish within reason, same technicians and same data, same everything. Doesn't really have, he hasn't stood out in testing yet. So we'll see. Don't write him off.
He'll let you know.
He will. He'll be the first up. He read in MCN that I hadn't put him in the top 3 last year. He went nuts. He comes storming over to me in the paddock. It's quite scary when he gets on one. And I mean, he's a lovely lad. And he did it just for a bit of comedy, sort of a bit of banter. But don't write him off. What he's done on that Honda's incredible. Andy Irwin fully fit, brilliant. Can't wait to see how he's going to go. He had his moments last year, did Andy, towards the end. And most people in the paddock, including Honda, obviously, still have a little bit of faith in the fella. The big surprise for me, although he's not a young fella that's going to surprise us much anymore, is Leon Haslam. He's been quick everywhere. He's been quick. We know how tenacious he is. We know how much he still wants to race. All these 40 odd now, I think, early 40s.
Yeah.
Can't believe it, can you?
No.
When we all remember him racing scooters at 16. He's quick. He's clicked back with that. He's never in a V4, I can't remember. He's in V-twins a couple of times for different airwaves and for Koji, I think, as well.
Yeah,
When he was very young.
Yes. Mark Griffith's team.
It looks like he's clicked with it. So I think he'll be there or thereabouts. He generally is, and that bike might be there. I would be really pleased for Motor Rapido and Wilf and the boys, because they put a lot of effort in and they're a stalwart of the championship, been in it a long time. McCann's Martrain are going well with Danny Kent. He's there or thereabouts.
There seems to be a range of them. Spud
Yeah,
Nesbitt,
Spud Nesbitt's going really well.
Max Cook.
For where he is. Max Cook, ish, there or thereabouts. I've chatted with Darren Fry. He's really happy with the Kawasaki. He said it is definitely under the radar in terms of performance. People have written it off. It's an older bike. He's not competitive that much at World Superbike anymore. Shouldn't be winning. He says it's a good bike. They've made some progress with it. Lee Jackson and Josh Brooks on the Dow bike. Again, going all right. And Josh might be a little bit of a surprise. You know, we've all written him off. We've had every bike, never done well with it last few years. He's had his moments. Beginning of last year, especially, he had a couple of good runs. I think Josh might just click back with the Honda. Remember, he's ridden Honda before. David Todd and Hickey, difficult to tell. Hickey's always in there somewhere. Lacklusher last year. They've got new bikes. Hickey runs the team, and this new team is 8-10 racing. It's the remains of what was.
That's the big responsibility to take on, isn't it? To start to run the team.
I mean,
well
Hickey
right,
just works like his work ethic. He's got, you know, them people on the old 70s sort of game shows that had to spin plates round on 20 poles before. Honestly, he's spinning that many plates in terms of business, importing motorbikes, he's tuning motorbikes, he's got a big chop out in Louth, still riding. You wonder whether he's doing too much. They've only got one bike built for the Alton test, just couldn't build another one, didn't have time. He gave it Davey because he knows Davey needs the time on the bike, and he's more able to, Hickey's more able to jump on one and get to grips with it. He's more time in the class and everything. So that was good of Hickey. They've got a learning curve with the bike, and especially with Davey into Superbike. Lewis Rollo, who I rate, really nice kid, big, strong, blonde head, Scott. Just a good, honest kid who's worked really hard for his racing and paid for most of himself.
Yes.
Bit of a breakthrough year last year. He's on the Ian Newton Aprilia.
He's been around a long time.
Ian Newton has.
I mean, a lot of time given over to Superstock before he ever.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and to be fair, he did a lot of crashing, and he didn't last year.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has done. He's fallen off in practice, hurt himself, so he's going to miss, I think, the first round. But I wish him all the best. Good kid. Rory Skinner, another Scot. We know how much talent he's got. Struggled with injury, just about got to lead in BSB and then hurt himself again. That was at Snetterton, I think, was one of his big issues there. In the wet, horrible conditions. You couldn't really blame a rider for going down in them conditions. He wasn't the only one. He was the only one who got really badly hurt. He's back, fully fit, back on his mountain bike, very strong physically, he says, and gagging to make amends for what we know he can do. We know how talented he is.
Yeah.
He is racing with Taz. It's the Cheshire Mouldings as a good sponsor. That he's been involved a long time, really into his bikes. But it's basically the Irish lads, the Taz, Philip Neal. You're well aware of them. We all love them.
Former motocrosser.
Yeah, and good one.
Good one.
Now they've swapped from BMW that they've been with for years to Ducati. Big move.
Yes.
Big move. Not just in terms of, the stand for your BMW won't work on the stand you need for your Ducati, but everything, the way the bike works, the way you have to set it up, the technician understanding you need, it's a massive step. And I wish him all the best. They're a savvy crew. They should be able to get their head around it. They've got a full factory sort of backing in terms of buying. It's not the same with a Ducati. You buy a Ducati V4 Corsa, a race bike, it's done, it's ready to go, legal, ready to go into championship. With a Honda, Yamaha, all the Japanese stuff, you build, and the BM, you build it out of a road bike.
Yes.
So it should come, barring setup, pretty much ready to go. So we'll see how Rory sort of converts to that. So that's really, really good. Lee Jackson going all right on the Dow bike, and they've upgone. They're on Hondas now, not on Kawasaki's. Christian Eden, he's teammates with Max Cook. He's going all right. He's got to convert back from the V4 Ducati back to a straight 4. Oh, Scott Swan. He's on Ian Wolcott's Honda.
Yes. Yeah, they are back in the paddock.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been in a long time. He just Gary Jonah from the southwest there.
Yeah.
They put a good team together. They've gone really quite big on the job. So I wish him all the best. It's a big step for the team now to be back in. Also, big step for Scott Swan. I raced for his dad, Michael, one of the most successful Irish short circuit riders of the sort of 80s. Good bloke. He's there. He's had to step back a bit because Scott wants to be, at some point, Dad has to cut the sort of lead, and let the kid go. Scott's really nice bloke, down to earth kid, typical quirky Northern Irish funny, but he can ride. He can ride it. Through having a couple of slip offs last year, it sort of hamstrung him from having to go at winning the Stock Thou Championship. But he was a revelation last year in terms of speed, and he's tested really well everywhere. He's tested really well, like top 10, which you wouldn't think with that depth of field would be possible for a rookie new to Superbikes, especially with a team that's lacking in recent history of Superbikes. So that's good.
What about the Predator?
Oh, Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Storm Stacey. Don't call himself the Predator now. He calls himself Lord Stacey.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Storm. Sorry, son.
The Predator has all sorts of. I don't even want to.
Sorry.
So, Storm's a little bit of an enigma to me. Got his first Superbike win in horrendous conditions at Snetterton last year on Brent Gladwin's Kawasaki.
Yeah.
And when you think somebody's won in the wet, you think, yeah, but lucky win. Tell you what, you go out on a 240 horsepower Superbike in the wet, and I tell you what, be lucky staying on it for more than 100 metres.
Yeah.
So to win in them conditions against people he had to beat, you've got to stay on it. Not that easy. Lots of people falling off, including frontrunners like Leon Haslam, including Tommy Bridewell slid on. He stayed on and he beat everybody. You cannot take that away from him at all. So clearly got some talent, yet to prove it to me at the real sharp end in the dry. I hope he can. He's a quirky character. I mean,
do you know when he turned up at the Hawkston Park International that I commentate on, like February time, when a lot of the sand-loving top continentals come over because they love Hawkston Park. It's a traditional motocross track. They can really love racing it, and if I'm lucky, road racers come up and see me in the commentary tower and have a chat. Yeah, and all sorts of unlikely people, to Alistair Seeley and Fraser Rogers and Storm came up, and before I know where I am, he's joined in the commentary.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got this co-commentator.
He's not.
It's great. And he's not shy. He goes bang, he's straight in there.
He's not. That boy, he's not shy.
And quite knowledgeable.
Quite
knows what he's
knowledgeable.
talking about on that score.
I've done a couple of things with Storm away from the racing. I've been trialsing with him. He had 2 goals at trialsing and he was quite good. It's just one of them that clicks. Yeah. And I was at a go-kart day. This isn't one of these go-karts where it's a sort of pull-start lawnmower engine. No. These were 125 gearbox. I mean, 125, they must have had 30 horsepower, so not a lot of power. But Christ, when your head's that far from the ground, you felt like you were flipping cracking on. And there was a load of car racers there, and me and some other bike racers. And most of bike racers acquitted themselves really quite well against. I know it's not what they do. Karting's different to touring car, but we acquitted ourselves pretty well. Yeah, I think the car racers didn't like us for being as close as we were and mixing it with them. Storm Stacey just cleared off. Big dangly flipping 6'2", couldn't even fit in the thing. He put 4 seconds into every car race in karts. So he's clearly one of these that's got a feel for wheels and engines. Big ask. He's kind of taught the talk, which he would. So wish him all the best. He's not a crasher though. So there's a good chance he will be able to learn it and get to grips without ending up on the back foot after crashing. So, good luck. That we haven't mentioned that he's racing for Batham's brewery
So
team.
the bike will look beautiful for a start.
Our bikes,
Wow.
just
Yeah.
odd. Their company colours just translate so well to
Yes.
a motorbike colours.
Yes.
It's brilliant. With obviously Batham's long-term supported rider is, I think he drinks quite a lot of it now. He's Michael Rutter. There's no disrespect.
Did Michael have any say in Storm coming on board?
I
Did
think
he
all the say.
a lot of say. So you wanted
the
him.
Batham's people are unreal. They've been on my track days, right? And they turn up. Michael looks after them. They are absolutely no bother. The two people who run Batham's, I think the Batham's, I think the name is Batham. I think it's them. I think it's
Yes.
They come, they ride the bikes, they're reasonably quick, and they're no hassle, they're no problem, and they just let Michael get on with it.
Yes.
And it really works. They're really interested in it. You know, they're really passionate about it.
Yeah.
But it's a big ask, and they're on. Is the BM going to be just what he needs? How bad or good was Brent's aging Kawasaki? I think it was probably better than what people thought it was last year, probably. Brent knew how to put a bike together, even though it
Yes.
was a Kawasaki and they were seen as probably at the end of a...
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. Have we missed anybody? Oh, John McPhee. John McPhee is with Hawk Racing Honda with Charlie Nesbitt.
I was talking to Stuart Higgin about him at the weekend.
Yeah. What do I think? Right, number one, I like him. Great bloke.
Number two, he's been around for
He's been around a long
eons.
time,
Yeah.
coming through 125s,
Yeah.
Motor 3, etc. Most of his time's been spent in
Little
the
bikes.
on little bikes, but
Yeah.
in the World Championship paddocks.
Yes.
Not that familiar in the last 15 years with Alton, Cadwell.
Yeah.
How well's he going to cope with that? He's a little fella on a big motorbike now.
Yes.
We'll see. Did he struggle a bit last year on Supersport? Debatable. He had his moments.
He seemed to, didn't he?
Yeah.
Generally over the whole season.
So that said, he's tested reasonably well. It's
Yeah.
been, you've got a timesheet and gone,
Yeah.
John McPhee. So wish him all the best. I think it's in this championship with this depth of field. Big ass. Now let me check. Talk amongst yourselves, Jack. Let me see. I don't want to miss
What,
anybody.
you feel that you ought to chuck anybody that you can into the pot.
Billy McConnell back in there. Billy's always going to be there or thereabouts.
Is he ever going to stop?
With the Fairburn Developments Honda, he's all right. And we will love Billy. And even if he was there, when he stops racing, right, when he hangs his levers up, BSB ought to pay him just to turn up, to be there, to make everybody laugh and
Yes.
smile and cuddle him. Because he's just such a flipping... We were interviewing people for TNT. We did the pre-season stuff.
Yeah.
Just made us laugh the whole time. He's not a clown even. He just says things that are really, really funny. And he's... we love him. So, and he can still ride. He still deserves to be in there. So good luck to him. Richard Kerr. So Richard Kerr is the 23 stock 1,000 champ. Remember that sort
Yes.
of it's kind of an odd entered championship. It was
where
head to head with Dan Linfoot. And
They did for Dan, didn't they?
kind
Yes.
of. There was a
Yeah.
non-standard part on Dan's bike.
Yes.
Blah blah blah. Whatever. Anyway, he got the. Richard have a lot of time for. He learns his trade. When he came into stock thou, and every class he's ever raced in, he's been, I'm not going to say rubbish, but steady at first. Steady.
Yeah.
Learns his trade.
throughout.
And before
Yeah.
you know it, wow, he's pretty quick. And he's done
Yeah.
that in every class.
Yes.
Don't think he's going to go out the blocks and pull up trees in Superbike. But I think he's going to be somewhere thereabouts. I think he might have a top 5 in bike in a championship season, maybe.
Yes.
But again, I don't think he'll start so quick. And it's a big ask for him in this depth. So have we missed anybody? Fraser Rogers, difficult year last year, broke both femurs.
Yeah,
Sorry.
he turned up at
Motocrossing.
Hawkston in February, and when I didn't realise how badly he'd hurt himself.
Yeah, massive. That was motocrossing did that.
I know, and he's a very decent motocrosser.
That's why he broke
Yeah.
his legs. Well, isn't it? That's what happens. The better motocross you are, the higher you're going to crash out.
Go down.
We mentioned it, but I think Jamie Van Sicklerus, he is with Tag Racing, same team as Fraser Rogers. Big ass, but he's fully fit. Remember, he had that health issue,
Yeah.
and then he also hurt himself, so he's back in. And I have a lot of time for Jamie because they come over from Holland every single You
Yes.
know, they're one of the
Yeah.
Dutch competitors that seem to like racing here,
And,
not just see it as a
he's been
stepping
doing
stone.
that for a long time.
Yeah,
A
brilliant.
lot of years in different classes.
And-
yes.
Best thing about BSB this year,
What?
Assen. We're
Oh,
going
yes,
to
back at Assen.
The most British circuit in the world.
Yes.
We're going back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we had Navarra last year. Great circuit, great weather, great town nearby. Didn't work. Too far away to get any crowd in. Locals aren't that interested in BSB. They're more interested in MotoGP and World Superbikes.
Yes.
Assen, you get a lot of Dutch,
Yes.
but you also get a lot of British
I've
travellers. It's
got, I've
easy.
got friends and relatives who've already booked themselves in for Assen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Well done, James. I didn't expect you to give me such an excellent rundown on the 2025.
Now, bear in
BSB
mind, I'm working
competitors.
on it a weekend. It is part of my homework. This.
It is indeed, and you've obviously done your homework well, young man. Talking of BSB, it's the first round at Alton Park this coming bank holiday weekend. So the bad news, James, is that we're going to inflict some trivia about a little quiz about Alton Park for you and our listeners to
Oh, dear.
contend with.
Jack Track Trivia, powered by Net Performance. Now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Jack Burnicle.
Hey, what an intro. Time for the reading specs. Here we go. Jack Trivia time. Track Trivia even, episode 1. Question 1. In what year did Alton Park first open as a racing circuit?
Right, so it was a World War II kind of training place for the Americans. So I'm going to say in that big spurt of racing that kicked off, I would say 1953.
Very good. Absolutely spot on. 1 out of 1, young man. Question 2. How many different circuit layouts does Alton Park offer?
Now, right, big one. 1. 3.
Very good. That's correct. International, Island, and Foster's.
Correct.
Well done. 2 out of 2. This is question 3. The BSB Championship races on the international circuit layout.
Yes.
What is the total length?
Do you want it in kilometres or miles?
Miles, which would be very familiar to you.
Yeah. It's quite long. I'm going to go 2.5.
2.69.
Oh, that's cruel. How about I cut the chicane, Jack? So actually, I'm right.
Talking of which, what is the name? Question 4. What is the name of the slowest corner on the international layout?
People think it's the hairpin, but I actually don't think it is. I think the slowest corner is probably Hislop's.
Very good. Very good. Correct. Hislop's chicane.
Yep.
3 out of 4. And what is the longest straight on the international circuit?
Longest straight there isn't much. Well, if you count it as a straight, it's between Cascades and Island Bend. Don't know what you call it.
The Lakeside Straight. Correct. Correct.
That'll do.
I'll give you that. According to folklore, why is Alton Park's Knickerbrook Corner named as it is?
Right. Well, I think this came from a bloke called Blaster Bates, who was a kind of very lewd comedian at some time in the sort of 70s and 80s, and he reckoned he had some knowledge where it was because it was a little brook and it was a picnic site for a few people, and there was some sexual activity going on between a couple,
Yes.
quite rightly, I guess, and somehow. Is the story that they got worried off by a bull or some kind of animal or a farmer maybe, and then she left her pants somewhere?
It is a lot. The actual background story isn't actually. It was allegedly caught in a compromising position, and the woman left her underwear behind when she made a hasty escape. The actual cause of her hasty escape isn't necessarily.
Oh, I went into too much detail, did I?
Right.
I did make a lot of that up.
Sorry. Well, Blaster Bait was supposed to be involved. So we're doing well. We got 5 out of 6. The Gold Cup meeting at Alton Park annually attracted the best Formula One guys. And imagine, I don't know whether you've ever seen that kind of helmet cam thing of Jimmy Clark going round there through the woods.
Can you
on a
believe?
Formula One?
And even in them days, they'd have been fast motors
Oh, yeah.
and sideways things.
So what the question here is, who won the first ever Oulton Park Gold Cup in 1954?
54. I'm gonna. Gotta be Sterling Moss.
Absolutely correct.
I can't believe how long
A name synonymous with Oulton Park's glowing history in motorsport, because he won 5 altogether.
He just won everywhere.
Yeah,
and I were only going off the time that was the time when he would have been going well, and he won everything.
And he started from the back of the grid on a 250F Maserati, which had arrived from the factory in Italy that morning. So he'd never actually driven it round the track. And also, incidentally, Sterling Moss was, it was the Gold Cup in 1959, I think, when, I think it was 1959, when he won it, the only time a 4-wheel drive car has ever won a Formula One race. And it was the Ferguson.
Oh, yes.
Yes. To do with your beloved
designed at a village called Meltham, just down the road.
Yes, your beloved tractors would be.
Well, it was a Ferguson David Brown link, is what it was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Harry Ferguson, and but he fell out with Brown's really in quite a big way. Anyway, different.
So there you go. You fluked the right answer there, Sir Sterling Moss. So 6 out of 7.
I fluked 5 of them.
Question 8: which BSB rider holds the current 2-wheel lap record at Oulton Park, and what's the time?
Absolutely wouldn't know the time, and I should. This is stuff I should know. Josh Brooks, maybe. I'm going Josh.
Bradley Ray.
Is it? And what was it?
133.62, 103.5. God, over 100 miles an hour.
I know.
Blooming heck, 103.5.
There's corners that are 40 mile an hour as well.
Question 9.
Yes.
Who holds the record for the most BSB race wins at Oulton Park, and how many? For a bonus point, how many?
I've got to go with Josh Brooks.
Do you know it's?
I'll tell you what, it might be Kianari.
You're right.
It might be Kianari. He never lost there, and I reckon he's got. They only had 2 in the day then. 7.
12.
Has he?
Yeah, closely followed by Shaky on 11.
I was thinking about people still on the grid, and if I'd have thought about it more, I would have definitely gone straight away for Kianari.
Well done. Well, we'll give you that.
Unbeaten there, wasn't he?
We'll
Just
give you
about.
that. Yeah.
If he finished, he won, didn't he?
Question 10. Former British motorcycle legend Mike the Bike Halewood raced his first competitive outing at Oulton Park on the 22nd of April 1957, soon after his 17th birthday. Oh dear, this is a bit unkind. What position did he finish in the race?
Oh, God.
As if we know.
I have so much faith in Mike Halewood. I'm going to say 3rd.
11th. I would have gone for something like 3rd, to be honest.
Yeah.
Question 11. Shell Oil's Corner is one of the most distinctive on the track. What's its unique feature?
Unique feature. It's got it's like the more camber than any corner you'll ever. You go into it, and it's just like a big wall of death. It's brilliant. You've just got. Is that the answer?
It is. I just wondered if. It's a bank turn, but I just wondered if you knew it's percentage camber or.
I don't know. I know there's more camber there. And it's banked more than any other corner that you'll ever go around in the UK. What you've got to watch there, anybody who goes into the track there, because it does catch people out. If you're on a big power bike, so 1 litre sports bike or anything up as that, you come out, the camber drops off really sharply. Going in, it seems to catch the front end nicely.
Yeah.
Coming out, it's you cambered, and the camber drops away, leaves you at the lean angle you were at there with another 15 degrees of lean angle, and it's you can have some horrendous eyesides coming out of there. Anyway, that's just a
11% camber apparently.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good corner.
Question 12. Which BSB rider has the most podiums at Oulton Park?
I would say he went on a long time, so if he had second amount of wins at 9, I would have said Shaky.
Correct.
Yeah.
33.
Yeah.
Question 13. During World War II, what was the name of the American world champion boxer who put on exhibition fights for the American troops garrisoned at Alton Park?
Oh, I've read this. Don't know. Joe Lewis.
Correct.
Is it Joe Lewis?
Yes.
Oh, my God. I'm
Victor-
brilliant.
Apparently victorious in 25 consecutive title defences, a record for all weight classes.
Imagine you coming and doing a demonstration there now. You get your world champ heavyweight boxer somewhere laying down something going, yeah, I'll take you on. Yeah, no problem. Just let me get this qualifying out of the way and I'll be back.
Question 14. You could have a stab at this one as well. You might get this one right. This is one that I would never have known. Architect Joseph Turner designed the old entrance gate in the 18th century.
Yes.
What was his nationality?
Say his name again.
Joseph Turner.
It's got to be one of the home nations, hasn't it? So it could be a bum steer. It could be... The house was very... So if he designed that, he must have designed Alton Hall, I would have said, as well, which was just there at Old Hall Corner, obviously. Scottish.
Hard luck. Welsh.
Oh, did you know?
The bum steer.
Yeah.
Talking about bum steers, question 15. Apparently, this podcast is named after the last corner overtake by Glenn Richards in the 2008 British Supersport race here at Alton Park. Who did he overtake? And for a bonus point, what was their race number? Now, this completely defeated me, mate.
Do you know?
And we must have commentated this, for goodness sake.
Listen, I think it's Hudson Kenner.
Who was overtaken?
Yeah.
Very good.
I think it's
absolutely spot on.
I think it's Hudson Kenner, and I think his number was high number, double figures.
Double figures, sorry.
Yeah. As in...
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's not a single number. Is it? Well, if it is, tell me.
3.
Is it? Right, yeah, I remember. And I'm sure Glenda was on the Triumph.
Yeah.
Hudson probably in an R6.
It doesn't. I haven't actually got that information.
Cracking race. Actually, I see Hudson a little bit. Hudson's running a little race series called for 1254 strokes for beginners and anybody.
Oh, okay.
And it's great. And it's dead cheap, and it's real good sort of old school barbecue in the paddock night before and all that. And he does a good job of it. But he could ride a bike. You know, people forget what a peddler Hudson was.
Mate, he was the Superstock champion one year. He was no mug on.
No, he wasn't.
No.
Wasn't, no.
And he was a good talker. Blimey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still is.
Now, I'd like to tell you how much you've scored, but in fact,
Only dropped 2.
I've forgotten to keep counting. No, you've fluked quite a few along the way, haven't you?
Correct.
Even by whispering
count.
Joe Louis right at the end of the...
We've done it for 40 years, mate.
More fluking things. Well done. Well, I hope you people back at home enjoyed that as much as we did, and perhaps scored as well as Mr. Whitham did. Thank you very much, James. Well done.
Cheers, yeah.
Yeah.
Best win I've had for a long time, that.
Paddock PA, powered by Net Performance.
So, folks, time to involve you for, as James says, a little bit not about the Whitham so much, bless him, and try fighting his way through answers to questions. We've got a few nonsense things to add, like the fact that we've got upcoming riders' birthdays. Gary Mason and Jorge Lorenzo. What a pairing they are, eh? May the 4th, their birthday. And the great Robin Appleyard on May the 10th. Also, mention of last weekend's London Marathon, a shout out for Claire Neat for completing the London Marathon for Global's Make Some Noise charity, as well as all the other runners who've participated for such good causes. Well done. And as we previously mentioned, the 2025 Bennett's British Superbike Championship kicks off at Alton Park with a triple header this Saturday, the 3rd of May, to Monday the 5th. Tickets can be booked online, altonpark.co.uk, at a discounted price, or pay the full price on the gates on the day. Children under 13 can attend for free. And camping tickets for this event have already sold out.
Yeah, I'm going to say that a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think that's, people know it's going to be good weather now. So I think the
Yes.
people are gagging to get it. It's always been sold out. Right, other top level sporting events on motorcycles going on the weekend of Open Paddock. That's this weekend, Bank Holiday weekend. Is the, let's have a look, Marley Motorcycle Club beach race at Margate Beach. Now this, I don't know whose idea it is, but it's nuts and it sounds fun. That's 3rd and 4th of May. That is Saturday, Sunday. So what they've got going on Margate Beach is the inappropriate motorcycle beach race. And it is inappropriate because you can basically enter on, and this is going racing each other down a beach at speed. They've got custom bikes have entered, classic bikes, electric bikes, scooters, off-roaders, and it sounds a load of fun, that, and I think it's going to be well attended. If you do want to attend, you can get your tickets or any information you need at all the W's, Marley London, that's MALLE, no gaps, London.com/beach race. Get your details there. It sounds good fun, that. Whatever you've got going on, lads, whoever thought of that, you're nuts, but good luck.
Do you know who is nuts? At the Stafford Classic Club at the weekend, it was my enormous pleasure, and I see him every 6 months there, really. And the now 88-year-old Roy Hubbard, who used to race, get this, a road race tuned twin-cylinder Yamaha in a grass track frame. And I'd first seen him already into his 70s racing on the beaches up at Southport and Wallasey. What a character. 88-year-old with a real twinkle in his eye and still getting excited about the race.
Or it could be sand.
Or it could be sand. But he radiates that excitement of people who are nuts about motorbikes and love them. Anyway, nice to see you, Roy. The Berkshire Triumph Owners Motorcycle Club lunchtime bike meet is at James Lane, Burfield, Saturday, May the 3rd, 11 till 4. A meet for any make of motorcycle. Ride in, have a drink, a bite to eat, meet up with other riders and their bikes. Hosted by Berkshire Triumph Owners Motorcycle Club, but open to all motorcyclists. Bar and hot food available.
Right, next one, Hastings Mayday Bike Run. That's a Hastings to Locks Bottom, back to Hastings, Monday 5th of May. That's Bank Holiday Monday, 7 a.m. meet. Ooh, good early start for you there. Got to be able to get out of bed. 7 a.m. meet on your bikes, and they're meeting at Saddlescombe Road North Bike Stop, which is, I believe, one of those places where there is a gathering point for bikes generally.
And the Two Stroke and Smoke Scooter Club present Mods and Rockers Mayday Invasion 2, Great Yarmouth Seafront. 5th of May, that's this Bank Holiday Monday, 11 o'clock till 3. The scooter and motorcycle parking is free. Some change thrown in a bucket would be appreciated, raising money for the East Anglian Air Ambulance.
Probably not the one for Greta Thunberg, I'm thinking that, Jack, with all the smoke. And but anyway, I don't think she's got a scooter. Next one. Throttle Therapy Bike Night. 6:30, Monday the 5th of May. Again, another bank holiday one, but this is an evening one. Square and Compass, Darley, Derbyshire. So it's a pub. It's a Square and Compass, that's the pub, in Darleydale, Derbyshire. And it's at 6:30 Monday. And it's Throttle Therapy Bike Night. Don't quite know what that's about. Sounds fun. Everybody welcome.
Next up, Bikers Barbecue and Meat, French Horn PH. Is that Public House? The French Horn Public House, perhaps?
Yeah.
Alton, Hampshire. Saturday the 10th of May at midday. Opening event for bikers and for whoever loves motorbikes, barbecue and music, and the event is free to attend.
Another one, the Salmon Leaps Spring Motorbike Run, and that's what? That's Totton. And that's Sunday, 11th of May, so a week and a bit off. Meet at 9:30 a.m, so a little bit of a steadier start for them boys than the 7 o'clock we had at the previous one. For a delicious bacon or sausage, or both, it says, bap and a cuppa, ready to leave by 11 a.m. And that's in aid of Hampshire Search and Rescue Dogs.
And finally, lovingly, what about your upcoming track days? Have you got anything going on?
Yeah, most of the ones in, we're still running JamesWhitham track training, track days. Most of the ones in summer are already sold out because we only it's low numbers. We specialise in high quality instruction, low numbers, not trying to push my own thing, but we do really quite well with people who haven't done a lot of track daying, etc. Right through to people who do a little bit of racing. We've got, if you want it, just go on JamesWhitham.com. Details are there, who we use for instruction and what we've got going on. Also, I've got to mention this, and I don't want it to turn into some kind of bike fest, but at Huddersfield International, that's out of that door there.
That's where we are. Huddersfield
Yeah, we're having a
International
bacon
Airport.
butty flying. Basically, that's like a bike meet, but with airplanes. I don't mind if the odd biker turns up and parks up in the car park and comes to have a bacon butty, especially if it's a foggy day, because you won't get any airplanes in at all, and I will be eating bacon butties on
your
that
own.
account for about 6 months, because we've got plenty in. So that's on Saturday the 10th, which is a week on Saturday, and that's at Huddersfield International, in brackets, Crossland Moor Airfield, Huddersfield.
Now then, if you want to get in touch with us via email, it's TheOutsideLinePodcast @gmail.com. So if you want to get in touch with us, give us a shout out for the Paddock PA segment. Send us your questions if you want.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, do you know, we're both relatively up to speed on things. I'll be right into BSB once it's kicked off.
Yeah.
We've been through a sort of preview, but actually if something happens that you see happening at Donington or anywhere else, to be honest, as any of the World Superbike or MotoGP, generally we've got an inside line on what's gone on, and we can maybe fill you in. I think we'll be all right at that. We've still got our fingers on the pulse a little bit, haven't we?
Some might
It's gone
say.
quiet.
Some might say.
But any questions
might
you've got,
not.
any questions at all you've got, I still do a lot of riding, a lot of track instruction, so if you've got any
Indeed.
issues with your bike or whatever, let us know.
All right. And that's it for now. This is episode 1 of The Outside Line, and we look forward to episode 2.
I really enjoyed this chat.
Thanks, James.